The story begins with Fuutarou Asubi waking up on his wedding day having dreamt about meeting his bride, whose identity is not clear. We then go back to when Fuutarou was in school. In the cafeteria, Itsuki Nakano joins him at his usual lunch spot after noticing his high test score. She asks for help with studying and offers to share her lunch, but he is impolite, making her upset. Futarou's sister Reiha informs him that their father has arranged a part-time tutoring job for him. To his surprise, the student is Itsuki. Wanting to apologize, Fuutarou visits Itsuki's place only to discover that she has 4 identical sisters: Ichika, Yotsuba, Miku, and Mino. They are all quintuplets and he is hired to tutor them. During the first study session, only Yotsuba pays attention. Nino puts sleeping pills in Futarou's water and he is sent home in a taxi. Itsuki accompanies him and meets Reiha. Learning about Futarou's family struggles, Itsuki accepts Reiha's invitation to come back and ends up having dinner with the Uzubi family. During the next tutoring session, Fuutarou challenges the quintuplets to a test because they don't like the idea of him being their tutor. He promises not to bother them if they pass. Unfortunately, they all fail, only getting a total of 100 points. The next day, Fuutarou asks a history question that none of them can answer. However, he remembers that Miku got it right on her test. When he tries to talk to her about it, Yotsuba and Ichika interrupt and embarrass Miku by discussing crushes, thinking she's in love. Fuutarou finds a note from Miku inviting him to the roof. When he gets there, he misunderstands Miku's words about the history question, thinking she's confessing her love. He soon realizes she's passionate about history, especially Japanese warlords. Miku even tries to trick him by pretending to be Yotsuba while running away. Fuutarou offers her favorite soda as a peace offering. When he reveals that Miku had the highest test score, he realizes that each sister got different questions right. Using this as motivation, Fuutarou encourages Miku and refuses to give up on her. As a result, Miku joins Fuutarou and Yotsuba for a study session in the library. Fuutarou comes for the next study session with the quintuplets. Just as they're about to start, Nino shows up and sends Yotsuba, Ichika, and Itsuki away. This annoys both Fuutarou and Miku. Nino challenges Miku to a cooking contest, and if Nino wins, they'll stop studying. Nino's dish looks better, but Fuutarou decides it's a tie, making Miku happy. Fuutarou leaves but realizes he forgot his flashcards, so Miku lets him back in. However, he finds Nino in a towel, mistaking him for Miku without her contacts. Nino gets upset and books almost fall on her. Fuutarou saves her but is caught in a compromising position by Itsuki, who takes a picture. The sisters hold a meeting to decide if Fuutarou should continue tutoring. Miku helps him prove he's innocent, and Ichika and Itsuki also agree after looking at the photo. Nino is still upset and leaves after a comment from Ichika. She locks herself out but won't admit it, and she talks to Fuutarou, denying his observations about her protective feelings for her sisters. She insists she won't accept him despite what her sisters say. Fuutarou is studying at home when Itsuki brings his tutoring pay. Fuutarou doesn't want it because he hasn't gotten all the sisters to study. Reiha convinces them to go to the arcade and they have fun taking pictures. Later, they meet the other sisters in yukatas for the festival. Yotsuba invites Reiha to see fireworks and Fuutarou agrees, but only after finishing schoolwork. At the festival, Ichika flirts with Fuutarou, but then takes a secret call. Yotsuba thinks Reiha could be her sister if she marries Fuutarou. Miku tells Fuutarou that watching fireworks is a special tradition that reminds them of their mom. Nino takes Fuutarou to a rooftop for fireworks, but when the others don't show up, she sends him to find them. He finds Ichika first, but is sent away by a stranger. Next, he meets Miku with a hurt foot. They are mistaken for a couple, upsetting Miku. Seeing Itsuki, Fuutarou runs to her, but is pulled into an alley by Ichika, who asks him not to tell others about their earlier meeting. In the alley, Ichika tells Fuutarou she can't watch fireworks with her sisters due to a work call. She sees the man with a mustache again and hugs Fuutarou to hide. Fuutarou still says he's not friends with the sisters, hurting Ichika. He feels bad for hurting Miku earlier. The man mistakes Miku for Ichika and bothers her. Fuutarou steps in, claiming to be the sister's partner, surprising Ichika and Miku. The man is actually Ichika's agent, revealing her secret job as an actress. Fuutarou tries to convince Ichika to stay, but she has an audition. He helps her practice lines reading as a professor. Ichika is late to the audition, but impresses the panel. When she returns, the festival is over, but Fuutarou takes her to the park. Her sisters are there with many fireworks, forgiving her for missing their tradition. Ichika and Miku both reach for the same sparkler, like Fuutarou, but Ichika lets go, saying Miku seems attached. She promises to cooperate more in study sessions. With exams coming up, Fuutarou tries to get Itsuki and Nino to join his study sessions, but they refuse. Itsuki studies on her own. After skipping parfaits, Itsuki shows Fuutarou a message from their dad, Maru, saying he'll be fired if any of them fail. They argue, both saying they won't work together again. Back at the Nakano apartment, they play the game of life and Nino tries to kick Fuutarou out. Ichika lies, saying Fuutarou promised to stay overnight. While Fuutarou bathes, Nino pretends to be Itsuki and learns he'll be fired if they fail. When they study again, Miku asks about Futarou's ideal girl. He says someone cheerful, good at cooking, and caring like Raiha. He's not interested in dating. Ichika, trying to set up Fuutarou and Miku, talks to him on the balcony, saying he and Itsuki fight because they're alike. Miku lets Fuutarou sleep in her bed, rooming with Ichika. She forgets and goes back to her room at night. The next day, Fuutarou wakes up next to a sleeping Miku. During breakfast, Itsuki talks about her difficulties with Fuutarou after their recent fight. Ichika jokingly suggests that Itsuki should pretend to be Miku to talk to him, and Nino joins in. In Miku's room, Fuutarou wakes up next to a sleeping Miku. Figuring out it's her from her pajamas, he leaves but is confronted by Miku, really Itsuki in disguise. He isn't fooled and quickly leaves, making her upset. Fuutarou, Ichika, and Yotsuba go to the library. Ichika pretends to forget her pencil case to let Fuutarou talk to Itsuki. He meets Miku halfway and lies about sleeping on the living room floor to avoid embarrassment. Finding a sleeping Itsuki using Miku's headphones, Fuutarou talks to her, thinking she's Miku. They apologize for their fight. Fuutarou stays another night to help them study for midterms, and they almost miss the exams. Wearing Yotsuba's ribbon, they sneak in past the supervisor. Each sister passes one subject out of 5, and Fuutarou expects to be fired. Surprisingly, Nino tricks their dad into thinking they collectively avoided failing all subjects under Futarou's guidance. This convinces him to keep Fuutarou as their tutor. Now that all the sisters are willing to be tutored, Fuutarou suggests celebrating with parfaits. Fuutarou tries to get Nino and Itsuki to study at home, but they get mad when they find out about his plan with Yotsuba. So only Fuutarou and Yotsuba stay home, and Yotsuba hints that she likes him. In the library, Ichika uses a photo to make Fuutarou get all the sisters' contact info. But Fuutarou forgets his student handbook because he's worried about Yotsuba leaving suddenly. To get it back, Fuutarou goes to Nino's room. Nino sees a picture of a tough-looking guy, actually Fuutarou from 5 years ago. He lies and says it's a relative. Nino also talks about their childhood and shows photos. The pictures make them remember how much they've changed. It turns out one of the sisters met Fuutarou on a study tour 5 years ago, and it's in the other half of the picture in Futarou's handbook. Miku pretends to be Ichika and rejects a confession and invitation from Maeda, Ichika's classmate. Fuutarou shows up and acts as Ichika's boyfriend to defend her. Maeda, feeling heartbroken, challenges Fuutarou to dance with Ichika during a campfire on the camping trip if they're really dating. The trip is about to start, but Raiha gets sick. Fuutarou stays to take care of her, missing the school event, but Raiha quickly gets better. The quintuplets want Fuutarou to go, so they all use their car. Because of bad weather, they get stuck on a snowy road and have to stay in a hotel. They end up sleeping in the same room, sparking a debate about who should sleep next to Fuutarou. To be fair, they all sleep beside him. The next morning, Ichika wakes up early and is drawn to Futarou's sleeping face. She sits down and looks at him. Itsuki sees them but doesn't realize it's Ichika, thinking one of the quintuplets is kissing Fuutarou. There's a legend that if couples dance and hold hands at the end of the yearly campfire event, they'll be together forever. Miku wants to dance with Fuutarou, but since she noticed Ichika likes him too, she decides to let Ichika dance with him to be happy for her. Meanwhile, Fuutarou and Yotsuba dress as ghosts to scare people, but Ichika and Miku recognize Fuutarou in a wig. Later, they talk privately about what they think of Fuutarou. Nino and Itsuki get scared and run in the wrong direction, getting lost in the forest. Fuutarou finds Nino near a cliff, saves her, but Nino mistakes him for a boy in a picture from Futarou's handbook because of the wig. Pretending to be a relative named Kintaro, Fuutarou gives her a lucky amulet from Raiha and gets a band-aid from Nino. Smitten, Nino invites Kintaro to dance at the campfire. Later, Fuutarou helps Ichika and Yotsuba with logs for the campfire. Yotsuba locks them in, and Ichika explains she's supposed to dance with Fuutarou because of a dare from Maeda. Fuutarou remembers he has to dance with Nino too. He tries to cancel his dance with Ichika, telling her to deal with Maeda on her own. But Ichika cries because she really wanted to dance with Fuutarou. Fuutarou and Ichika get stuck in a warehouse. Fuutarou makes a fire to stay warm. Ichika tells him she wants to take a break from school for acting. Fuutarou supports her. Seeing a small fire, Ichika asks Fuutarou to dance. He agrees and tells her about the campfire legend, which helps Ichika understand why it's important to Miku. While feeling guilty, Ichika makes a log fall and Fuutarou saves her. The alarm goes off and they get soaked. Maiku and Itsuki arrive, asking for an explanation but not fully believing them. After settling things, they go skiing. Ichika gets a cold but sneaks out to make sure Fuutarou didn't tell anyone. Fuutarou can't ski and crashes into a tree, losing the band-aid Nino put on him. Nino sees it and tries to catch him, thinking he's Quintessential. Fuutarou hides in an igloo, finding upset Miku. Unable to leave because of Nino, they talk. Miku realizes Fuutarou understands her and her siblings. As he leaves, she tells Ichika they need to talk. Miku tells Ichika over the phone that she wants to express her feelings and suggests they both hold Futarou's hands at the campfire. But surprise, Ichika is actually Itsuki, who's been pretending. Fuutarou and the girls can't find Itsuki, and Ichika takes Fuutarou to a ropeway, revealing she's really Itsuki. Fuutarou collapses from a fever and Itsuki takes him to rest. Before going to his room, Fuutarou pretends Kintaro told him something came up and he can't dance with Nino. So Nino goes to the campfire alone. Meanwhile, Miku tells Ichika about her feelings for Fuutarou and that she wants to win his heart. They understand each other and hug. Yatsuba and Itsuki find Futarou's camping guide with stories for Raiha. Despite being sick, Fuutarou enjoyed the trip. Itsuki sneaks into the ward to care for him. To their surprise, all the girls were hiding there worried about him. They approach him as the campfire event ends. Years later, it's Futarou's wedding. He forgets the ring, so Raiha helps him. She finds a lucky amulet she gave him 5 years ago. It turns out all 5 girls held hands with him at the campfire, and he's marrying one of them, but we don't know who. In a scene after the credits, the girls reunite with hospitalized Fuutarou. Nino returns his lucky amulet, and they all get ready to study for their upcoming finals with him.